Hi everybody, welcome back to the fourth part of the video tutorial on Red Hat JBoss BPM suite. In the first three videos we installed JBoss BPM, we created a repository to work on, and we created our simple data model that we need for our insurance process and rules that we want to implement. In this video we will start to look at rules and how to implement and test rules, and we'll start with simple ones, so step by step we'll increase the level of complexity in these videos. The first rule that we want to implement in the rules management part of the JBoss BPM suite is supposed to calculate a discount that someone who is asking for a household insurance will get if his request meets certain criteria. Of course, we could do that inside of the program, but this was to take away the flexibility that we want to gain by using a rules management system. So, without further ado, let's start right into the rules authoring. We go into authoring, project authoring. Make sure that you see that you are in the right repository and working on the right project. If you want to take a look, we haven't checked that when we did the data model. By doing the data model, BPM suite also created the Java files that resemble our model. It's a very simple structure and just created the getter and setter, which we will need for the rules and for other things. So what we're going to do now is we'll create a guided rule. So we go into new item, guided rule. We will call this rule small flat because we want to author a rule where someone who requests then a household insurance for a flat, which is below a certain square meter size, will get a discount. So the domain-specific language, which we could select down here, we will discuss in the next video. So we give this the name, small flat, and we'll start with the guided rule editor. So every rule consists of a when and a then. So when something applies to some data, then do something. It's like an if-then statement in most of the programming languages. So we'll start when there is an insured object, which you remember is the data model for the object that someone wants the insurance for. So we have when there is an insured object, and now we want to go further down into the insured object because the rule should only fire if it is a flat and if it is below a certain size. So we'll click the statement and we'll add the restriction field to it. So it's type equal to, now we'll have to click the pencil, and we want a literal value. So if there's an insured object which type is flat, and now to add the size to it, we'll click the statement again, and we'll select size, the pencil, literal value 60. So we have our first condition. We need to have a request for an insured object which is a flat and which size is less than or equal to 60. When this happens, then we want to set the discount field of our contract object to a certain number. To be able to do so, we'll have to include the contract in the when condition. So we go again in here, when there's a contract. And here we don't have to do special conditions, but we have to store or assign the contract to a variable. And we'll call this one contract as well. So now we have the when statement done. We need a contract and we need an insert object which fits to these conditions. And now we get to the then part, which is run when the conditions are met. So we'll click on the green plus on the right hand side, change field of contract. Then we'll click the statement again because we want to change the discount. We go on the pencil back here, and this time we're not using a literal value but a formula, and the formula is simple: contract get set discount minus 10. And again, sorry, let's get discount. So we want to subtract from the already given discount another 10 whatever percent apples, bananas. Okay, now we have to go into the options part for two reasons. One is you can combine various rules to a so-called rule flow group, and if you want to apply rules to a certain fact set, then you can just select the rule flow group that you want to run. So we'll add here to the options a rule flow group, and we'll call this one type size rules. So another option we have to include is the so-called no loop, which needs to be selected. The reason for doing so is the rules management system always fires if its working memory has been changed, updated, or anything done to it. And as we are changing the contract by manipulating its member variable discount, we could get into a never-ending cycle if we don't tell him to no loop. So this is the rule as designed by the guided rule editor. We can take a look at the source code of it, which is actually more readable than the guided rules editor, but we will look at other options in later videos. So this is the rule. We'll save the rule. And the next thing we'll do is we'll create a simple test scenario to test this rule. So we'll again go into new item, test scenario, and the test scenario is for small flat rule, so we'll call this scenario the same as we call the rule, but that is up to you how you want to do it. Go on OK. And now we have to tell the scenario what is given and what we expect. So we'll start with the given. Given is that we want this to run on the type size rules rule flow group. Given is that we expect to have a contract with the name contract, and this contract should have a field discount which equals to the value 11. It is very important that you try to work with the values here which do not equal to 0. I don't know if it's a bug in the product or if I'm just missing parts of it, which could be the case. But if you work with 0, you cannot differentiate between the number 0 and null, which could cause problems. So, okay, we have a contract with a discount of 0, and we'll have another given, an insured object, which we call object. And here we have a type, literal value flat, and a size. Remember the rule fired if it is 60 or is it less, so we'll give it a size of 59. So if this is given and the rules that belong to the rule flow group type size rules run, then we expect that the fact value for the variable contract, that its discount field will be 1. It's the 11 that we used to have, and then apply the discount of 10. So we'll save our rule and we'll run our scenario. Success. So what happens if we change something? Like we'll expect a 2. We run the scenario, then he says test failed because we expected 1, we expected 2 and received 1. So this is how you can create simple rules and test scenarios to it. And in the next video we will look into the domain-specific language, which will make working with groups more lines of business compliant. So stay tuned.